Hi, my name is Ashish, and in this video we will see how to configure an application rule in Azure Firewall. In the last video, if you remember, we created a virtual network. We created two subnets inside that virtual network. We deployed Azure Firewall. We associated one of the subnets with the route table that we created. We configured a route in the route table to traverse the traffic from a VM to internet via Azure Firewall private IP address. We created all of these resources in one resource group and we selected the location as East US. Now we'll configure an application rule that will allow the outbound access to www.google.com. If you want, you can change that URL to anything. So let me just quickly log on to the portal. Take it from there. I'm logged on to the portal and this is the Azure Firewall that we deployed. So I'm going to go under rules, under settings. I will click on application rule collection, click on add application rule collection. I'm going to type the rule as test-fw01. The priority, the app 01, and the priority, let's go with 200. Action would be allow. Under rules, name, source type, source, FQDN. Under name, you will do, let's do log Google. And the source type, let's go with IP address. The source type the IP address as 10.0.2.0/24. If you remember, this is the subnet prefix of workload subnet that we created. So if you go here, this is the virtual network that we created and this is the subnet CIDR, right? And for the FQDN, for protocol, source type this, for protocol port type HTTPS. I'm not seeing that. And for target FQDNs, do google.com. Protocol, let's go with HTTPS. Name. I'm sorry, it would have been here. IP address. Here. Google, so target FQDNs. This is the one. Click on add. It is updating the rule under firewall. So now Azure Firewall includes a built-in rule collection for infrastructure FQDNs that are allowed by default. These FQDNs are specific for the platform and can't be used for the other purposes. You can go and check the Microsoft documentation for more details on this. And just to give you the brief, so the controlling outbound network access is an important part of the overall network security. For example, you may want to limit access to websites, or you may want to limit the outbound IP address and ports that can be accessed. One way you can control outbound network access from an Azure subnet is with Azure Firewall. With Azure Firewall, we can configure the application rule just we did today that would define fully qualified domain names that can be accessed from a subnet. We can also define network rules that define source address, protocol, destination and destination addresses. So network traffic is subjected to the configured firewall rules when you route your network traffic to the firewall as the subnet default gateway, right? So this is how you deploy the application rule. And now let's say you want to configure a network rule as well, and go to my firewall. Here my firewall is this rules. This is my network rule. I'm going to click on add a network rule here, and I will do net dash COLL01. Priority would be allow, and under rules IP address for name type I will do here name. I'm going to do allow DNS. Protocol I would go with UDP. Source type is IP address. Source is 10.0.2.0/24. Destination address would be my 209.244.0.3 and 209.2.4, and destination port would be 53. Click on add. Okay, now I will configure a Dnat rule. So I would go under my NAT rule collection. I will click on add a NAT rule, and the name of my would be RDP NAT. Priority is 200. The name of my rule would be RDP. Protocol I would go with TCP. Source type would be IP address. Source I'm gonna go with star. The destination address I will type in the destination address as the public IP of my firewall. So what it does, I would do an RDP onto the public IP of my firewall. It would hit the RDP of my public IP, my firewall, and then it would allow me to connect to my VM. Right? I'll show you how. This is my firewall. This is my public IP of the firewall. This is here. Destination ports 3389. Translate address, and the address to what it would translate to is my virtual machine that I created. This one, and I would have the private IP address of this. This is copy it and paste it. The translated port also would be 3389. Add. It is updating the firewall rule. Let's see how much time will it take. Okay, this is done. Let's refresh it. Now I see this. Now I will change the primary and secondary DNS address for my machine VNet. So let me go to my VM. This is my VM, right? So under settings, I will check my under networking. This is the network interface. This is my DNS servers. DNS servers, select custom. I'm going to go here. I'm selecting 209.244.0.3, and in here I'm going to go 209. Save. Now I will restart this virtual machine because I've made changes to the DNS pointing. I will come back when the machine is restarted and this is done. The machine is successfully restarted. I'm going to go and try and connect to the public IP of my firewall, which is getting translated to the IP address, the private IP address of my VM. So this is how, see, it's working now. So I'm getting connected. You see that I'm connecting from the public IP address of my firewall to my VM that I created because of the rule, the Dnat rule that I created. It is taking me to desktop of my VM. Here, let me see this. It's connecting to my VM here. I'm logged on to the VM. Okay. Now if I go to the IE enhanced setting and turn it off. Right, so if I open a browser now and I go to Microsoft.com, see, it says HTTP request from this to Microsoft denied, no rule matched, proceeding with the default action. So it is blocked. Now let me go to Google.com. It should work because I created a rule to visit Google.com, right? This was the application rule that I created. Google, oh, see, the spelling mistake, that is why it is not working. So let me correct the spelling. Hit on save. It is updating the firewall rule. Okay, now I've corrected the rule. I will go to browser and try to refresh it. See, the Google is working now. It was due to spelling mistake, it was not working. Okay. So this is how you create a network rule, Dnat rule, you test the firewall. This is how you deploy the firewall, right? So I hope you liked it. I hope this was informative for all of you guys. If you have any queries, please mention them in the comment section. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Have a good day.